Hello, Midnight TCG members. This is Midnight Fox. We're coming to you with this week's Competitive Edge podcast. Sorry if you missed us last week. Had a little miscommunication and a case of a sore tooth. Anyways, this week we're going to discuss what we do usually about midways through the ban list. Tonight, we're going to talk about ban list speculation. Kind of what do we think is going to get hit, what would we like to see get hit, and what do we think might come off. Tonight we have myself, we have Genzaki recording, we have King Dai Pai on with us this week in place of Genzo. Just
Hey.
Say hey, man.
Hey.
And we have Eddie Phoenix.
Of course you got me.
Of course. So, the ban list. Really what everybody prices their cards on, whether it be whether you're going to go and sell, trade, buy. Everybody starts looking at ban list about midways through, and sometimes when we get spoilers of cards. By history, we can tell that the big things that come out, the big tier 1, tier 0 decks that release, we usually don't see them really get hit, so we're going to try to go off that tangent on this one and just kind of focus on realistically what we see actually happening on this list. So, for myself to start things out, as far as something I think that might actually get hit on this ban list, I'm going to say Tour Guide from the Underworld. Why? It's been out long enough. It's had its engine run through. They semi-limited it. They've re-released it as a super and a black rare and a star rare. So it's had its reprints. It's had well over a year into the game, but it still always has an engine. Even with them taking it down, you can still go into another tour guide. You can go into Tour Bus. You can go into Mask of Darkness. You can go into Night Assailant. You can go into a multitude of level 3 monsters. Some are going to be better than others to have in your deck, such as people replace that third tour guide with a Night Assailant. Just because if you draw it, it's not dead in your hand, you flip it, you can destroy a monster, or if it's discarded, you get to bring a flip effect monster back, which Rico's pretty much the only flip monster still used in any meta at all right now, other than Morphing Jar. So, I think that personally for myself, Tour Guide has found its way into almost every engine, whether it be into Mermails. You still see Mermail decks, some of them that are topping that are running the Tour Guide engine. Just about any big deck that's running right now has some form of Tour Guide in it, whether it's Tour Guide plus Tour Guide, Tour Guide, Night Assailant, Tour Guide, Tour Bus. It's a generic 3, and that's why they hit Sangan last list, was because people were using Tour Guide to search out Sangan, send it to the graveyard to find something else useful. There's still engines available using it. So I think Tour Guide has a good chance of being hit this list. What are your guys' thoughts? Eddie?
I'm gonna go with I don't see Tour Guide getting hit because of the fact of I don't see very many level 3s being played in like level 3 ranks being like top of the food chain right now.
Zenmaines.
Zenmaines is about it. Zenmaines and like Leviair.
Leviair. Number
But
30. Number 30, you can't forget number 30. He's a big answer to a lot of the monsters that stomp the meta. 2 level
Yes.
3s. 3,000 attack.
Yes, but how many other, like, level 4s and level 7s are we seeing that are being played out and are a lot more of a threat right now than, having a tour guide come? I mean, yes, we're getting a re-release in the new battle pack of
Tour Bus.
Tour Bus, which is going to be, it's a great thing that they're making it a little bit easier for for us to get access to Tour Bus. But it's also something that, when you look at Tour Guide, how it's become like a utility card for, as you've said, every deck, it kind of doesn't make sense to me to see it in certain decks, other than, just for the simple pull factor, which, it annoys me that you have that, but, I can't do anything about that because,
That's pretty much exactly why I see it getting hit, though. Especially with Dragon Rulers finally hitting. A lot of their power comes from the remove from game area. Chaos decks run in the remove from game area. It's a one-turn Leviair. As long as you haven't pulled a second Tour Guide out, as long as you haven't pulled Nidus, as long as you have another 3 Fiend in your deck, you've got Leviair in one turn, and you can rinse and repeat your cycle.
It's understandable, but
I'm
it's
just
also
being realistic.
I know it's fine to be realistic, but are you seeing it going to the banned area or just going limited to 1? Because it's already sitting at 2.
It's a 50-50. I don't know if they would go as drastic as to completely ban it. If they don't completely ban it, it's at least going to hit to 1 because of the simple logic of pulling out a Leviair and abusing that remove from game area. They're going to at least take it to 1 because you still have Tour Guide. Overlay, I've got Leviair. I'm going to bring back something from the remove from game area.
So you're saying that everybody's essentially because I'm paying attention to the game, but at the same time I'm not paying attention to the game. So it's like everybody's trying to play macro decks now, or?
Well, a lot of chaos decks involve your remove from play area. You have the Dragon Rulers.
That's understandable.
Dragon Rulers are heavily dependent on things being removed, and Leviair allows you to bring back the baby dragons from out of play back to the field.
God bless America. That's all I gotta say. Just guys, stop it! I scoop.
And a lot of the game has, removed from game when it first came out was supposed to be out of the game, just like when the graveyard was first there. It's supposed to be the graveyard. Every place, deck, removed from game, field, graveyard, every part of it's becoming just as important as the other.
Now see, here's something that I find a little bit funny as well, because I saw a picture on Yu-Gi-Oh! Memes from Facebook the other day. It had the big 3 spell cards of Darkhold, Heavy Storm, and Monster Reborn. And it's like, okay, which one could you see being semi-limited? And I'm like, none of those. But that's a different topic for a different day. Sorry, I preached not going off on a ramble tangent at the beginning before we even started, and here I go on a ramble tangent. Oopsie doodles.
All right, King Diepie, what do you think about Tour Guide? Do you see any kind of hit to it?
I kind of have a mixed feeling about it. I really don't see it going to 1, because if it goes to 1, you might as well ban it, because if you draw into your target, the Tour Guide becomes dead in your deck.
Unless you're running 3 tour buses, that gives you the accessibility to be able to go, okay, I play Tour Guide. Oh, I have a tour bus in my hand. Oh no, I have 2 other ones in my deck to where I can just burn and then cycle through.
But I'd say Genzo nailed it on the head for me a while back. More than 1 is usually, it ends up being a dead draw. I'd say if you put it to 1, you could still go Tour Guide, Tour Bus, Night Assailant. Those 3 cards still give you searchability. And if you end up with Tour Bus in your hand, you could still go for Night Assailant. If you end up with Night Assailant in your hand, you could still search Tour Bus. So I don't see it being completely dead. But, yeah. Those are the big dogs. Mask of Darkness is one I mentioned earlier that's way overlooked, but with so many traps in the game, I'm amazed that it doesn't see as much play.
I figured we'd see more spell cards being played rather than trap cards. Because, I mean, most of the trap cards that are getting played are mainly like compulsory, and which can be activated during either player's turn, after it being set for a turn. You've got compulsory, you've got Fiendish Chain. I don't even think Mirror Force is a big problem anymore. In
Breakthrough skill has become more prevalent than a lot of them now that Dragon Ruler's released.
Yeah, because you can play Breakthrough Skill from the graveyard, so yeah, it makes... You can play it from the field and then from the graveyard, and it makes sense. Torrential Tribute, it makes sense as well because it stops Drago Sack from blowing up straight up. Hi, Cat, you're on my stomach. Fiendish... Did I mention Fiendish Chain?
You mentioned Fiendish Chain.
Wabaku's not a big threat because, well, Wabaku doesn't get played very often.
Wabaku.
But it's one of my favorites. And then if you're running Chain Burn, something like Magic Cylinder, just to be that guy. But
Eddie and his magic cylinders.
I love my Magic Cylinders. They're good.
They're magically delicious.
But, am I missing any of the big ones as far as chops go? Or am I, like, hitting all the nails on the head here?
Yeah, Mirror Force usually is sticking at one, but I think you forgot Dimensional Prisons.
Yes.
Probably the most prevalent of the traps. Other than, like, Breakthrough Skills, Dimensional Prison, because want things removed from play. And it's so hard to go on that vicious cycle of saying you do, but in some cases you do, some cases you don't. But it's almost more effective with so many destruction negators to go remove from game than it is to go with like Mirror Force, Dark Hole, or anything that blows something up. So I think we interrupted KDP though. Let's any other thoughts as far as tour bus is concerned, or tour guide's concerned?
Well, like Eddie said, there's no really good rank 3 to go into. You can go to rank 3 that'll be good for one turn, but against something like Dragon Rulers, it's gonna be gone by your next turn.
It's hard to say that though, because there are so many things. You got Zen Mange, you've got number 17 Leviathan Dragon to drop to take him to 2500. You've got Leviair to bring back your remove from game. You've got...
Yes, but like you said, how many counters can you have for that, like Breakthrough Skill and things like that, to be able to just hit it and just be done with it?
Yeah, Dragons run triple Valor and triple Breakthrough Skill.
So, I mean, realistically, we could possibly see a hit to things like, Valor or Breakthrough Skill, you never know. But, I keep interrupting KDB. I'm sorry, KDB. Go on.
That's kind of it.
Yeah, I'm just, realistically, this amazingly, other than Dragon Rulers coming along, has been a pretty balanced meta so far, other than, of course, Mermel's running rampant. Other than that, it's been a pretty balanced meta as far as decks go, at least in my eyes. What about you, Eddie? What do you think is gonna get hit?
I'm looking at like Abyss and the Abyss Atlanteans being hit. Reason being is, like you've already stated before, they've had their chance to run and have their chance in the sun. So you're probably going to see maybe like Abyss Magello getting cut down to maybe 2 or 1. What's another big Atlantean or Mermel that feels that engine right now? I want to say it's the one that when you discard just allows you to destroy 1 card on the field. Fox, help me out here. I can't remember.
I think you're thinking of Abyss Spike.
You might see him get hit. Just cards from that deck I can see getting hit because of it, having its chance to run and flourish.
I'd say, as far as if you're talking about just Abyss in general, I'd go more. If they're gonna do anything, I don't see them banning it, but doing something to the Abyss Megalo part of the engine. That's the most devastating card of it. That allows you to go into your Big Eyes and now Drago Sacks.
Yeah.
I think they're not going to hit the lower levels yet. I think they would look more at the big dog. But then again, could be wrong.
Yeah, of course. Fox, there's your thoughts?
That's my thoughts. I think if they're going to hit anywhere, it's probably going to be at Abyss Megalo, maybe possibly Dragoons. Because those are two of your big parts of the engine. Is Abyss Megalo, like I said, for the rank 7 plays, and going into your Dragoons for your searchability, just all the parts of the engine it brings together running Atlantean Dragoons in your Mermail deck.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, King Daipai?
I don't really see Megalo getting hit, more Abyss Spike. Because you get to discard one, get the effect of the Atlantean, and then search.
Yeah, makes sense and seems legit. And
you can get it from your deck with Spear easily.
so, you never know, we may see both of them even get hit, for that matter. If it's that kind of a broken combo, so...
I mean, that's kind of what they did to, they did that with Inzectors. They took out the big parts of the engine when they hit Hornet and Dragonfly, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
If I remember right. They took out those, and Inzectors pretty well died off.
Well, they haven't fully died off, but,
Not completely, but that's why I said mostly. They mostly died off. They didn't completely die out, but it really killed how well they played. It's kind of like they hit Magician and Zen Mighty, which wind up still finding their way in just because Rat was one part of the engine they forgot to hit. So it may be a step-by-step program on Mermail Atlanteans.
Yep.
That's your thoughts on it, KDP?
Yeah.
Alright, well then, what do you think's going to get hit this list?
Effect Veiler. It's like Sandgan Mass format. Almost every deck runs it. It's such a staple card.
Ooh. The only argument I could see for it is that it's chaos food. So you not only get to negate something, but you can also remove it after you've negated it and still get a chaos monster out, like a Black Luster Soldier or a Chaos Sorcerer. But on the other side of that, even though it abuses it, Effect Veiler and Breakthrough Skill are also your answers to Dragon Rulers and Mermails and Atlanteans and Spellbooks, which are the most prevalent and probably, I'd say, least effective on Spellbooks, because that's more of a spell-based engine. Yes, your monsters help fuel it along, but the spells themselves are what really fuels that engine. So I'd gear like Effect Veiler and Breakthrough Skill more towards Dragon Rulers and Mermails and Atlanteans. So, I mean, possibility? Yeah. But I'd see a more at a limit, semi-limit it before they actually take it out. But then again, that could be the reason we got Breakthrough Skill. Was because they're going to take Veiler from us.
Yep.
Eddie, your thoughts?
No, it makes total and complete sense. You guys sort of took the words right out of my mouth when it comes to that. And Hey, I'm always up for you never know what Konami will pull right out of their hats.
Those brains are always going, and I honestly think sometimes their brains are going down into the depths. So now that we kind of gabbed on what do we think's going to get hit, what would we like to see get hit? I know for a fact, for my part of it, they're not going to ban them. They're new to the game. They've already talked that they're going to release the 10s. They're not going to hit Dragon Rulers, banning them. But I think I'd like to see them at least semi-limited. Take a little bit of the engine away. Make people have to splash them into other things like Marmel decks or Fire King decks or whatever whatever their attribute goes to. But the way the deck runs right now, you can run 3 of all of the babies, you can run 3 of all the adults, and pretty much you can misplay through almost the entire game and still win. I know for a fact I misplayed 5 times in one game when I first played the deck and still won. It just plays that stupidly. So, I mean, what would I like to see hit? I'd like to see them at least semi-limited. Take away a little power. I know Konami's not going to ban them. They're not going to limit them. They want to give them their time to shine. But I think a semi-limit would at least be helpful in slowing the engine a little. You guys, thoughts on semi-limit on Dragon Rulers?
KDP, you go first.
I wouldn't say semi-limited on the big dragons. I'd actually say just limit on the baby dragons. Because they're the problem. And then with the big dragons at 3, you can still splash them into other decks.
Well, I don't want to see the deck completely die because it is nice to see dragons once again take a lead into the game, and it seems like every time we get a good dragon deck, it gets taken away, but this is probably the cheapest one they've released other than the extra deck.
I was about to say, are you crazy?
The extra deck is where it cost you. But when they released the big dragons and the baby dragons, they were all in low rarity forms. Those are easy to track down. And when you're talking about the extra deck, you're probably looking close to $700 to $1,000.
I was about to say at least $1,000 or more. Because I mean, you're looking at 3. You're looking at 3 Drago sets at $200 a piece or $250 a piece, depending on who you get it from. And then you're looking at 3 Big Eye, more than likely. So you're looking at about $100 to $150 a piece. So you're looking at about like $300 to $450 for just those. And you've got the Draco sets at $200 a piece, which equals out to about $600. So about probably $750. So yeah.
All right. Well, that was my thoughts. Is that your thoughts, Eddie?
That's kind of my little tangent on it. So.
Well, then, what would you like to see get hit then, Eddie?
Well, you mean what I can? Well, I thought we just discussed that, or at least, I don't know. For me, I'm more than likely gonna vote and pull for, this is a tough one. I want to see some of the extra deck cards get hit. So that way they're not as, always just, you splash one of these in every deck and then you do it. I want to see those cards just kind of sort of, that way people have to start thinking more outside of the box when it comes to the game itself. Start hitting that extra deck.
So, which ones would you say more prevalently than others?
More than Big Eye, Dracosac.
Big dogs, they're not gonna touch those.
Shush you, they might.
I'd say I'd go more along the lines of they would hit things like Leviair and Zenmaines before
Yeah.
they're gonna hit.
I can see those. I can realistically see those two being hit.
Maybe even Black Ship, although I think that's less prevalent than like Zenmaines.
I don't see Corn being hit because Corn can actually be an answer. But what the hell do I know?
Well, that's why I said less prevalent than like hitting a Zenmaines. What's your thoughts, KDP,
Yeah.
on Eddie's thoughts?
Well, unless they completely outright ban Dragosac and Big Eye, it won't really make a difference till Master of Blades comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Makes
Then, what would you like to see get hit, KDP?
Spellbook of Fate.
Spellbook of Fate. I don't see them hitting that because they just released it. But yeah, all the spellbook decks I have faced with that actually being released now, it is a headache. Just
Makes-
because it refills your hand. It's like playing Super Rejuvenation in Dragon Rulers. You can empty your entire hand and refill it.
Oh yeah, that Super Rejuvenation.
No, you're thinking of Judgment Day. I mean Spellbook of Fate. Will you move them from your grave?
Oh, yeah, and you banish something, or depending on how many you remove. My bad, yeah. I know what you're saying now. Return, blow up, or remove, yeah. That too. That's, yeah. I do not like that because I've had answers sitting out on the field and had them removed. Had a Zenmaines to block. Oh, I'm going to remove 3 spellbook cards. Say goodbye to your Zenmaines. He's going to the remove from game area. That everyone's thoughts on it?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's pretty quiet, guys. Okay, well, then since we talked about, what do we want to see get hit, here comes the exciting part. What do you want to see, or what do you think realistically could possibly come off? And for me, I'm going to say Go-Yo Guardian. I know I went this way last time, and then it ended up not coming off. But Konami never really wants to see anything die. The fusion decks start getting dead, so they released new elemental heroes that could splash with Super Poly. They released things that could be splashed in, I think it's Ultimate Axon Kicker for Psychics and Psychic Gusto decks. So they wanted to bring that back. Everybody's moving to Xyz. They don't want Synchros to completely die out. Go-Yo would probably be the best card to come back. It is spammy. It is a rank 6. Or a rank 6. Level 6. Synchro monster. All Xyz monsters and Synchros are yeah. Anyways.
Dark Strike Fighter.
I must be too broken. But Brionic, it still gives playability to your discard decks. And Trishula, that can end up backfiring on you, and it's still gonna help your own deck. So I think if they went in any area, I really think they're gonna try to bring back Synchros back into the limelight and get people looking back at them again, so that they can still sell their older packs with Synchros in it. Because you don't see Black Rose Dragon anymore. You don't see Thought Roller Archfiend, Red Dragon Archfiend. The only real Synchro monsters you see now are Catastor and Stardust. Everything else has been wiped out of everyone's mind. So I think they would want to shine light back on Synchros. Bringing Goyo back would be a good answer to that. It gives you the ability to steal your opponent's monsters. When something's destroyed by Goyo, Xyz monster, it's going to lose its materials. So you can still steal their Xyz monster. It's just going to come back to your side with no materials. So I honestly think probably Goyo, because I can't really think of anything else on the list. If they brought back Sangan already, well, now you just did in the level 3 engine for rank 3 spamming. If you bring back Giant Trunade, there's just so many cards that could possibly come back, but I think they're going to want to shine light, especially considering they're releasing a new 5, 6, 7, and 8 star Synchro. They want to shine light back on Synchros. I think they're going to bring Goyo back. What about you, Eddie?
I can see that happening, but the problem that I see with Goyo coming back is the fact that he's able to give you food, so much food for layover ranked fodder. I can just see him just breaking the piss out of the game. So
that is true. It does give you materials to XC summon too. Then again, that could be the answer we need.
That's my TLDR of it.
Sometimes steal your opponent's monsters and use it for your own overlays.
That's my... Go ahead.
What about you, King Dai Pai?
I could see that happening. I don't know, I'm too new of a player to know too much about Goyo Guardian.
Goyo was so broken. 2,800, 2,000 defense, 6-star, easily summoned, and when you destroy a monster by battle, you get to steal it. Comes back to your side in defense mode. So, I mean, with the Xyz monsters, you attack your opponent's monster, you destroy it, you bring it to your side of the field, you do your regular summon, and you overlay into a Xyz monster of your own. I mean, there is the possibility, high possibility of that being broken, but my thoughts on it is they want to shine some light back on Synchros so that Synchros don't die out. Heroes are still somewhere in the mid-tier there. They're still seeing little competitive play, and that's only because they gave support back to fusions, and they made the fusions of the heroes now more splashable by just going with an attribute and a hero monster. So I think they're going to want to keep some light on the Synchros. Just my thoughts. What about you, Eddie? What do you think will move around or come off the list?
Well, I got to looking around at some of the future cards we're going to be seeing come down the pipeline, and one of the things that I got to looking at, yeah, I believe I know it's a thread on our forum, and I'll have to go back and relook at it to remember the name of the pack that'll probably be coming out for it. But it gave, when I started looking it over, I started seeing, support for plants come back in that set. And I'm thinking there is one card, if it came off the list, that would take the plant engine and make it explode again, especially going against like E-Drag and things like that. And that's Glow Up Ball.
Well, you think just for the explosion of it?
I think the explosion of it, but like I said, it's to go up against E-Drags and all these other decks. Seeing Glow Up Bulb come back down to like 1, it would just give people more of a balance and more of a, hey, let's throw this deck back on the table again and just have fun with it.
But my thoughts on it, we got Spore back, it did nothing. The difference being Glow Up Bulb doesn't just have to go into a plant engine. The main reason it found its way onto the ban list was not just the plant engine, but it was the spammy way to go into Legendary Six Samurai Shien.
And the problem being here is that, like you just said, they want to bring Synchros back into that limelight. This is another card that helps them bring the Synchros back into that limelight.
I'd like to see Glow Up back just because it would be fun to have like an Effect Veller out or something else and just bring Glow Up back and go into Slacker Magician just for the lulz. What about you, KDP? What do you think about Glow Up Bulb and its possibility of coming back?
I think it's fairly reasonable that going back to 1, because they can only be used once per duel anyways.
Okay. So, then, what's your thoughts on what do you think's going to move around or come off the list? KDP?
I actually see Mizuki going to 3. It's a 1 right now.
I would say I could kind of see that. Zombies have been dead for I don't know how many formats.
Zombies, and there's a joke there.
I would love to see Mizuki back just for the spammability of it. And there's so many engines that can still abuse zombies, and they're overlooked because of other things that are played in the game right now, that I think that would create some hype if they did unlimit Mizuki again. What about you, Eddie? What do you think of Mizuki getting moved to unlimited status?
Coming to unlimited status? Yeah. It gives zombies that fight to come back. I'm also, again, that same thread that I looked at earlier on our site, I've seen support for zombies start to come back in, or at least vampires. And, for me, being someone who doesn't mind the vampires in Magic the Gathering, seeing them come to Yu-Gi-Oh! And have, a prevalent zombie presence, bringing Mizuki to 3 would really boost these guys and get them out the door.
That, and if they did anything with zombies to make them better, when you think they're getting ready to release Zombie Stein. So, why not? It's kind of nice to finally see an Xyz monster come out from the type itself.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts on Mizuki and his possibility? Well, other than that, I guess the only other thing I want to mention to everyone is just a little card that we were talking about pre-podcast, since everybody has their own thoughts on Dragon Rulers, and we were actually discussing it, and I just want to shine a little light on it. If you haven't taken a look at it because of everything else that was so broken that was released in Lord of the Tachyon Galaxy, and you're looking for a cheap way, if you play something like Tin Plate Gadgets or something that can abuse Ultimate Offering to fight Dracosac and stuff, number 69 Heldry Crest. Take a look at it. It's One-Eyed Skill Gainer, only bumped up. Absolutely broken. Negates all other Xyz monsters the turn he summoned, and once per turn you get to steal an Xyz monster's effect.
Session has forced you to reassess all your builds, looking for, someplace to cut.
Just my thoughts. Other than that, definitely want to say to take a look at the way that we have rearranged the board. You want to take a look in updates to the layout. We have cut the Magic section down. We've cut the Yu-Gi-Oh! Section down and rearranged it a little. We moved off-topic into the entertainment section. So if you're seeing some changes on the board and you're kind of wondering where a section that you used to frequent went, Nothing's been deleted. Things have just been moved. Take a look to updates to the layout. You should see where your section is if you see something that's missing that you really like on the board. Make sure you're here on Tuesdays. We have our WCS tournaments. Make sure you're here on Thursdays. The new Flash tournament started. So if you want the chance to win the iPhone cover, just be there on Tuesdays and compete in our little mini tournament. Other than that, this has been the Midnight TCG Competitive Edge podcast for this week. And Eddie, we're going to let KDP dance us out this week.
Yes!
Wait, what?
You got to do a do.
Something to dance us out. Just, say something.